You're listening to Everyday Ham, casual conversations for the everyday amateur radio enthusiast.
Good evening, everyone. It is episode 14 of the Everyday Ham podcast, and it is February 2026. If you've stuck around with us for this long, we do sure appreciate your patronage, and we do welcome you to the Discord, if you're aware of that, or our website. Check out all of the socials, and if you're a listener on the podcasting platforms, we appreciate you there as well. Welcome this evening, gentlemen. I have JKU James here with me and W8KNX Rory, my esteemed colleagues. I am, of course, N8JRD Jim from the south end of South Lyon here, and it's another regularly scheduled podcasted episode. This is our long-form podcast, and we'll have some very interesting topics. But starting on a bit of a somber note this evening, Mr. Elwood Downey, creator of the HamClock, has unfortunately passed away. And if you're not familiar with the HamClock, of course, one of the probably most prolific free pieces of ham software. I think many of us had it running in our shack. Awesome tool. And many of us using it every day for data that we use to hunt DX and POTA and see how our signals are doing. So real sad information that we learned earlier on this week. And we just wanted to take a moment to recognize his contributions to the ham community and reach out and just say our sincere condolences to the family of Elwood there.
I think if it's something to keep in mind as well, if you or any of your family is struggling with thoughts of suicide or any mental health crisis, keep in mind the National Suicide Hotline of 988. And that's, of course, in the United States. If you're outside of the U.S., I think a quick Google will find you some support. Certainly, they're there 24 hours a day, and that's something to keep in mind if you're in need.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his contributions also can't be understated for just getting hams to use a Raspberry Pi. Get comfortable with programming and flashing and doing all the things. He did a lot, not just for HamClock itself, but also the ham spirit and the development spirit. So he will be greatly missed.
Yeah, the DIY spirit of ham, right, is to put those things together, put a piece of ham-created software on it, and just have it be such a useful tool. So we are sad to say that Elwood has passed, but we did want to recognize him this evening. And with that, let's jump into how things are going around the shack, gentlemen. A little turn of the corner here. We have a couple of interesting things coming up, and we'll be traveling next week for Hamcation. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Headed to Orlando.
And I just checked. The extended forecast indicates that instead of a balmy 20 degrees Fahrenheit, if you're listening here in the United States, if you're listening over the pond, you can do the conversion yourself because I'm bad at it. It's probably cold. But down in Orlando, Florida, it is 80 degrees. Starting next week on Friday, we're expecting 80, 78. I could take both of those. Get me an umbrella drink, gentlemen. I haven't had a drink for 2.5 months, but it might be time. When we get down there, I'll kick my sandals on, and we'll just have a regular old Jimmy Buffett time. It might be Margaritaville. But anyway.
Oh, boy.
Setting those expectations high.
I mean,
I am kidding. I'm going to behave myself. Go ahead.
I was going to make an umbrella drink comment, but I think if you do resume, you got to stick to beer. I think we all know that.
Okay, that is also fair. I'm more of a beer guy than anything. Fair statement. Rory knows. All right, around the shack, gentlemen. So we talked to Terry last month about CW, and we've had just an absolute, I would say, sort of resurgence of CW interest here, especially in the metro area, in the South Lyon Area Amateur Radio Club, which, of course, you are all familiar with at this point if you listen to the Everyday Ham podcast. And part of that was really getting an idea of how to learn CW, what tools folks were using. And so I did commit to a purchase to help me on my journey. And I'm not going to lie. I bought one of these CW Pokemon HamCube Pro trainers. Really cool little tool. This is a $99 tool. You can find it on the HamGeek website. It ships from China, so just awareness there. It takes about 7 or 8 days to show up. No tariffs though, so that was cool. $99 out the door. And it is just a really nifty box. This particular one here can do decode. So if you have like an FT891 in your POTA kit and it doesn't have a CW decoder, you can plug this guy in right through the audio, and you have a built-in decoder if you decide to go out there and start to experiment or to even just listen to what's going on CW. The other cool thing it does is it actually allows you to do like a keyer setup. So you can actually play in your shack with this little color screen pops on, and you can send your CW right into this. You don't have to worry about interrupting all the very serious Morse operators on the bands. You can test your metal with the CW paddle in the shack. And so just really, really cool device. It also has a couple games built in, so you can listen back, and listening for me has been an absolute challenge so far. And you can also try to play games where the letter will fall down, and as it hits the bottom, if you haven't already killed it by, of course, using the paddle the right way, well, then you build up enough of those and you fail the game. So really neat tool. We'll do a little bit of a special on this, I think, at some point, but I have been really pleased with this. It gets a recommend from me. There was another guy in the club, W8JLN Joe, who has the non-pro version of it, just the trainer, and he loves it too. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Maybe it's something that can help you on your CW journey.
Well, it's a cool enough device to have out at the bar. We had our outing with the club last week out at the two-beer social that we do as a club, and it was making its way around the table, and everyone was trying their hand at their their little bit of CW skills there. Everyone was we were the table of nerds at the brewery for sure.
You're having a rousing evening out at the bar if out of your winter jacket pocket slips a iambic key and a CW trainer and all the cables to connect those two so that you can pass it around. And it's not a light key. I have a Zegu, VK6. So anyway, hilarious little conversation. That's right. It did get passed around. Rory, what's new in your shack?
No new toys, but a lot of CW practice. Been spending a lot of time with trying to fine-tune my listening skills on CW, struggling hard. And I'll tell you something, it really is an everyday thing you have to do every day. Certainly my practice sending, Jim and James can probably both, they've heard me send a little bit. I can do that pretty well.
You're
but I still can't hear all the letters, and I can't make sense out of them all the time. So certainly I've been spending my time with Long Island CW Club's online practice and their carousel training sessions that they do. Certainly I'm starting to hear it. It just takes time. It is an everyday thing. So that's my focus right now. No new toys, but certainly some time learning and fine tuning the CW.
And who knows what next week holds for you.
Right. How about you, James?
It's been a pretty crazy time with work the last few weeks for me.
Yes.
So I have not had a lot of radio time. I guess one good thing was I talked about it a little bit. I was in Germany, did take the 4XCR radio with me, tried to do a little bit of digital while I was in the hotel room. Didn't have the most success, but it was fun trying. Apparently shoving an NFEN antenna out of a hotel window is not the most efficient method of antennaing in the hotel room. So next time I'm supposed to go back here to France, Germany, and maybe Poland in a couple weeks. I'm going to borrow Jim's mag loop. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to go to parks, or else I'd be getting a POTA activation in. But Jim, I'm probably going to take you up on that offer to borrow that mag loop.
Yes,
make a
absolutely.
Much more efficient hotel antenna situation. So I'm pretty excited about that.
You know how I know that you weren't in the United States up on the 15th floor? You could actually open the window at the hotel.
That part was nice.
You actually could drop something out the window like an antenna, because in the United States, every window is locked closed, and you have to run the air conditioner.
Not that I did that at all, though.
No, of course not. But yes, you are welcome to the mag loop, and we had a lot of fun with that mag loop doing a little testing in the park. At just 9 watts, it was getting out pretty well. So I'll be really curious to see what your experience is with that, and see how it travels with you, and we'll look for some reports.
That'll be a fun chart. I don't have a lot of time while over there, as I mentioned, So when it's the evening and just to have something set up and have a little fun, unwind and relax is always kind of nice. Also, I'd like to do the 2 shout outs, actually 3 shout outs this week, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank, we were at Winterfield Day. By the time this podcast posts on our YouTube channel, you should be able to see our Winterfield Day update.
The recap.
We were in the very, very freezing winter storm that recently happened across the U.S. here in Michigan. So a lot of fun, great time with the guys. The Livonia amateur radio club was operating in a cabin next door. So Sean, AE8SP, and Eric, W8APS, also some good friends of ours from the neighboring club. And then also a special shout out to another South Lyon area amateur radio club member, Ray, KC8RC. Always a huge help with taking media and photos for us, and all around great guy to hang out with. So very much appreciate him and all the support he provides us as well.
Ray's got that creative mind, and he's always got his camera out there and getting very artistic shots. Yes. So if you're in the Discord, the multimedia share is dominated by Ray's posts, and he messaged me on the side the other day. He said, "Jim, do you think people are getting annoyed with all the pictures?" I was like, "Ray, full send, buddy. Just keep posting them. I love the activity." So go check them out. And if you show up to one of our events, you might get a glamour shot of your own that you could post on your whatever the best social media is right now profile.
Yep. And I guess last topic for my international travels here. If you're in near Koblenz, Germany by any chance, which seems to be the geographic region in Germany I'm located most of the time, let me know, because I'd love to try to meet up for a POTA activation. Who doesn't like to meet up with strangers in a park here for some good old-fashioned ham radio? But I've never activated a park overseas at this point, so I'd be definitely interested in learning how to do that. And I pack light, so
I was going to say with somebody else's 100-watt radio and big antenna, right?
Maybe not the most ideal setup, but with that, I'd like to maybe move into our next topic. This is one maybe near and dear to all our hearts for different reasons, but we'd like to talk about when was the last time you felt pressure to upgrade a radio, even when you were perfectly happy with it. So we see a lot of social media posts and YouTube influencers, and even ourselves, peddling the latest and greatest and being very excited about it. But we also find ourselves sometimes with either buyer's remorse or honestly just maybe we don't need to upgrade at this time. And I'd like to kind of go into your thoughts on this and where you stand today.
Yeah, go ahead, Rory, take it away.
I think we have 2 opposite ends of the spectrum here. If you look at my approach to this and Jim's approach to this, I tend to keep a radio for 10, 15, 20, 23 years.
True.
Jim over there at the other end of South Lyon, always wheeling and dealing to sell something, move something along, and try something else. But I think Jim's approach is always that to learn about the new stuff. I think his interest in learning about the new stuff and how the new stuff actually performs and what it can do is a lot of his driving force. Me, on the other hand, I don't mind hearing other people talk about it. I like the radios that I know. So, it's definitely, we've all talked about for some time. We've all sold. I wonder how many DX10s we've sold. I'd be curious about that.
Quite a few.
I'm sure how many FT891s have we sold? Quite a few.
Is this where we say not sponsored by Yaesu, but Yaesu, if you're out there, we would love to talk.
Not a plug, but a plug.
But for some of the other ones, how many ICOM 7300s have we sold? We've spent some time talking about that rig too. So, and of course they're new upgrades. So, it's everyone approaches it differently. Jim, your thoughts on your approach to it?
Well, yeah, and I think it's very evident, right? We've done 14 episodes, and I've gone through at least 14 radios in those 14 episodes. So, I mean, plus or minus, I think that's about one a month every. I'm kidding. It's not quite that rapid, but it's close.
At least maybe a new radio or at least a new gadget to go with the radio.
Can we make a list? There's a Flex that's come and gone.
The Flex has come and gone. We have gone through 2 DX10s in the shack. Got the first. It was awesome. Sold it because I wanted to, get something else. You know how it goes, right? And then you don't have it, and you're like, wow, that was a great radio. Grass is not always greener. So that's one of the takeaways that I was going to say out of the gate is in moving rapidly across all these radios and hearing, if you're a regular HamTube listener, right, all the guys, name them, right, K8MRD, Josh, KI6NAZ, right, Ham Radio 2.0 down there in Texas, Jason, all these guys, right, they're always showing us the newest stuff. We're guilty of it just recently with the D750 preview that we did, right?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. I absolutely love moving gear. I love playing with the new stuff, but it doesn't always stay in the shack. And I've said this before, right? It's not within my means to keep every piece of expensive gear that I buy. I just don't have that kind of disposable income for this particular hobby. But as part of wanting to be able to talk about it and have the experience to share with you guys, I do rapidly change things, and I one thing moves and the next thing comes into the shack. So I do have a very strange approach to it. There are some things, however, that I do consider to be stalwart gear, and we've talked about those, just like the DX10, right? That is an unbeatable radio in today's market. It's an expensive radio in today's market. So a lot of folks are not starting there, and that is okay as well, right? If you're listening to this podcast, and we joke all the time about DX10s, there are a number of great SDR-powered receive and transceive radios out there that you can get today that are half that price, if not less. And a fine example of that, the 7300. Mark I, 7300. We have a club member just last week that got a hold of a brand new in the box 7300 from ICOM. His first SDR transceiver, upgrading from, I believe, an FT891, was it?
Yep.
That's correct. And just had I think he paid $600 for this thing, brand new in the box. Yep. And he has had an absolute blast with it, making it sing FT8, enjoying that it has the built-in sound cards and all the modern amenities. And that thing's been around for years. So, right, that's the idea here, is that although we talk about it and we joke about always getting the newest and latest, I mean, that's not how this hobby really has to be. And I don't think that a lot of our listeners out there have the means. We heard a lot of you commenting in the D750 video that pricing is unrealistic. It's pie in the sky. And folks on fixed incomes, I'm a retiree now. I've moved to my my cabin in the woods, and I don't have that kind of money to spend. That is totally fair. Those radios probably aren't something that you need to add to your collection. I think that it's a really interesting, it's an interesting conversation to have, because there is this constant pressure to upgrade to the next best thing. And I don't know if the next best thing is always the best thing. Go ahead, James.
No, I mean, I was going to use the 7300 example. That sort of is why I was actually bringing up this topic to begin with, is it sort of struck a chord with me, because now I do have a DX10 sitting right next to me here. Yep. But I started with the 7300, and that was my primary base station, POTA radio. I took it everywhere with me. The first HF radio I actually bought myself after I upgraded to a general license.
Absolutely.
And I love that radio still. I actually have it over there in a hard shell case, just sitting on the shelf, and I probably should pull a gym and offload it and sell it for to collect the money, but it holds sentimental value to me. But the truth is, too, for my experience level and the type of radio operating I'm doing, I think this is a lesson for maybe some new hams as well, is there's a lot of things you can do that isn't necessarily radio specific, buying a new radio or upgrading your radio.
Sure.
Better antenna. Maybe try some new fun modes out there that are new to you to sort of stay excited in the hobby that isn't just going out and shelling out more money for a different radio. And the truth is, for me, and was this point I was going to make, is if I was to go back and pull out that 7300 for me, I would notice some of the sounds, the noise floor differences and other things. But however, I think I could have just as much fun on the air with that radio as my DX10 in the shack if I wanted to. And you don't always need to upgrade the radio to really get that difference. Really, or if it was me, and maybe this is a question to you too as well, if I was to go out and try to upgrade my shack, I would upgrade my antenna situation before I really go out and update my radio, because I feel like with a specialized antenna or more broadband antenna, you can really kind of make more of a difference in your operating than necessarily always upgrading the radio, or just even spending time learning the features of the radio that you can fully maximize what you do have versus just going out and trying to buy something else on top of it. But I'd be curious where you're at on, if you're going to try to do something other than the radio, what would it be to sort of improve your experience?
Well, I mean, you come over to my place here, and I'm 100% on attic very bad antennas. I mean, they're not good. My end fed in the attic that doubles back against itself and runs across the building and back in the condominium here, that would have to be number one. There isn't a radio I could buy that would improve my situation here with how well I hear or get out, receive or transmit. It's all in the antenna system. And of course, that's something that's on the list for the spring, is to get something out back here and run a wire outside finally after all these years. But you can't buy a radio to get past that antenna system. Another example I thought of is, I think we have a club member locally here who has DXCC on 2 bands using the FT891, if I'm remembering the shack correctly. So I mean, that's pretty good. You don't need the radio. You don't need. I'm one that makes fun of people who say, "Oh, I need the waterfall." I don't. You don't need the waterfall. Spin the dial and turn your ears on and listen. You don't need the waterfall. So all these things, you can have a perfectly good radio, and all these extras you can operate just the same and do all the same things. But definitely need the antenna system to go with it. I know Jim added the amp over there. He added some power, and I ragged him incessantly. I'm like, you need an antenna to go with that power. And I think some improvements have been made in time, but it's all the things, right? It's not just the radio, and it's not just spending more money on the hardware. It's other things that have to be in place too. But we look at guys who have been in the hobby for 30 and 40 years, and they're still using those 30 and 40-year-old radios too, and they're doing just as well. There's some advanced filtering that we all know is better in the newer radios, but they're having just as good of a time and making the same contacts everyone else does.
Yeah, your question here, and here's something that I've learned, right? I do have an FT-DX 101 MP, Yaesu's top-of-the-line radio on my desk. Oh,
stop
here.
Name dropping. No.
I'm using myself as a poor example here. This is why I'm saying it out loud, right? Like, I have what I would consider an asinine shack, right? Like, it's way too much shack for a gentleman of my operating stature, as far as that's concerned. I'm still learning so much. A lot of the equipment that I own is probably well above my pay grade as far as a ham radio op is concerned. But what I will say about it, right, is I've seen some of those weak points show themselves relatively rapidly. And Rory knew, as I was buying the stuff, he's like, radio's too much, right? The radio's too much for your situation. The amp is too much for your situation. And I knew it too, right? But you gotta try it for yourself. And to be very honest with you, I sat here barefoot with my FT-DX10 connected to the end-fed half-wave out in my backyard, which is a $99 antenna. And that combination of radio, I could have done just as much with as my... there's $10,000 in my stack now, right? If you put it all together, there's $10,000 worth of radio equipment sitting on my desk right now. So to answer your question, it was an $890 DX10 and a $99 antenna. Could have done all the things that I've done with this radio. Now, can the radio stack that I have here do more? Absolutely. Absolutely. There are ways that it excels, and there are certainly some advantages to having a whole bunch of extra power, right? When you turn it up to 11, you're certainly going to be the first one that gets an answer if you're the first one that gets heard, right? But that doesn't mean you can't get that DX, and it doesn't mean that you can't get that POTA hunt that you're looking for. It just means that you need to have more patience. And I think that really is actually something that it was good that I didn't start right at the top there. It did teach you a little bit of something. I probably ascended more rapidly than I should have to having the full power. But I'll tell you, I've learned now with that, I only operate the amp at 500 watts top, really, because much beyond that, I've exceeded my antenna system to the point where everyone can hear me shouting into the ether, but I can't hear them shouting back. And there you go. There's the problem, right? Is when you have something built up like that, you really need to balance the entire build. And you guys know that out there. If you're listening, if you're a longtime ham radio operator, you knew that. You were laughing along with Rory as I was buying the equipment. You were saying, Jim, more antenna, less radio, right? That is exactly right. So go out there and get an antenna, right? And the DX Commander was my next step on that. Moving from an end fed, which you do load up the end fed, you use some of that power as heat in the coil and the whole 9 yards. But I'm pretty happy with that vertical, and I still would love to get a beam on the roof, right? So there's a lot of room there.
something else to always keep in mind, even if you have a station, a limited station, even a QRP station for that matter, you really can always take advantage of band openings. You have to be patient and wait for them. But you can get a tremendous band opening. For example, the other night, Jim and I both worked in Alaska POTA station on 10 meters.
Definitely.
I'm over here at 80 watts because my power supply was failing and couldn't do 100 watts. That's a separate story. The power supply is now dead. And Jim, I think, turned it up to 11 to get to Alaska, and we both made the contact.
You did.
So, the band was open 10 meters from here to Alaska without any problem. Me on my mediocre antenna, Jim on his good antenna and high power. We both made it. But you can always, even with the most marginal station, when the band's open, and we have the technology now to let us know when the bands are open, you can make contacts with the smallest station, even QRP.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're doing a lot of conversation here that surrounds sideband. I'd be very honest with you. None of us are proficient CW operators at this point. So when we're talking power, if you're sitting out there and you're like, you're running CW at 1,000 watts? No, we're not. We're running sideband, phone at 1,000 watts or 100 watts in this case,
watts,
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're not blasting that kind of power out for CW because it's not required, right? And that's the other part of this as you learn all of these new things. And that's why we're focused, I think, heavily on this CW idea this year. It's the idea that you can do more with less, right? And doing more with less actually sometimes ends up being quite a bit more exciting.
That's all I want, right? As I've mentioned this now at probably nausea, that I like to go hiking and backpacking.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some people yesterday, and they asked if I was going to take a radio with me when I go to the Grand Canyon in April. And I was joking. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to put the 891 in my bag. And poor Mike was like, don't kill yourself.
Mike's
basically.
Like, you're not doing that. Yeah, he about fell over.
I was like, no. But to be fair, I'm going to take it with me, but I'll leave it in the car when I actually go to Summit. But at this point, to me, I like to try to align my hobbies to my radioing because it allows me to get more enjoyment out of it. If I go for a hike or I go walking or I travel, to me, it's exciting to go POTA or find new spots or try to see what stations I can pick up or get some new DX that I wasn't able to get before.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my lesson has come in. I would keep my 891 all day. And we actually, and I'm switching gears here a little bit, we did the FTX1 experiment. We were all on board, choo-choo, the hype train of the FTX1. And
I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, and then we went through the disappointment of the FTX1. Then we had the hangover, and then I was like, "Well, I'm going back to my 891. That bad boy's trusted and true, and I throw that in a bag, and it gets me where I need to go. And I'm sorry I ever left you 891. Please take me back. I made a horrible mistake. But just to say, it's not always glitz and glamour, but try to align your, as you said, the build. Right? It's the overall build. If you're a car person. And if you put a turbo on your engine or you change your engine tuning, you might have to adjust your wastegate or your exhaust system as a follow-up to that to really be able to be efficient and get more power. So if I'm a new ham and I was to give advice, it is find what you enjoy now. Find something that works for that, but something that can also grow with you a little bit as you start to explore and enjoy the hobby a little bit more. And I kind of wish, again, I wouldn't have experimented this so much, which is fun, but just kind of maybe learn some new things like CW instead of trying to voyage off into the shiny new SDR rig and all that kind of stuff as well. I feel like I lost a little time there.
Listen, let me be true to myself here, gentlemen. I don't wish that I did anything different. In fact, I love all of the stupid decisions that I've made in ham radio because they were part of the journey that I have taken, and it really is my journey, right? The way that I've approached it has been very Jim. I've done it all my way. Some folks don't agree with it.
I did it my
That's
way.
right. So I think that you're exactly like you're saying, James, right? You're, I think, more avidly outdoorsy, and you are one that has been out on the trails much more than Rory and I have been combined, probably. And these lightweight builds that you're thinking about now for this upcoming trip, which is going to be awesome. We're looking forward to hearing about how that goes. This is going to be a real opportunity to try some new equipment that fits that particular lifestyle, that particular style of operating. And I'm really excited to see what you find, and I'm excited for you. That's what this is about. So if you're out there, right, like, and listening to it tonight, and you're like, man, you guys, you're so funny, right? You're all contradicting yourself. That's fair. But honestly, you're going to do it your way.
Because we're hams, and that's what hams do.
you're going to do it your own way. You're listening to us tonight because you're looking for something to entertain you that is on the YouTube or on the podcast, and we're a couple of folks that like to talk ham radio, and you are a ham radio operator, right? But you're gonna figure it out for yourself. So take some of this as, hey, wisdom, perhaps. Take some of it as learning experience, but go do it yourself, and then leave a comment down below and let us know what sucked for you or what worked awesome for you, because we would love to hear that. That's what we're talking about tonight. Is how are you doing it? How are you doing ham radio? What are the things that you learned? And what are you taking away from it? Because the other cool thing is, as we're doing this, new folks are joining us in the club doing it as well, right? And then we get to talk about that with them. And that just gets other folks fired up about ham radio. And now we've got more hams to talk to on the air. So it really is kind of this big snowball, right? I get excited about something, then Rory does, so on and so forth, right?
Or it spurs something adjacent. It's not even always the same thing.
Sure.
You know, you might bring something to my attention, and I'll, it'll remind me of something I wanted to try years ago.
Yeah.
Right. It's all do what fits your needs, what your interest is. You know, we look at POTA, for example. And one of the big things for POTA for me has become, it gives me an excuse to go to that random park I've never been to. Mm-hmm. It gives me an excuse to make a stop on my way to Chicago. I wanted to activate an Indiana State Park. Okay, they're pulled off at Indiana Dunes. There I think, is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. I blanked on it. On my way to, all these little things, these places that you don't see. We look at Jason, who was a guest on here, KN4AL. We had him on at Hamvention last year. That's a big part of his POTA exploration, is he gets to go down that 2-track that you never went down and get on the air and play radio. But that might not be your thing either. That's so what works for one of us might not work for someone else. And as time goes by, you might learn something that you didn't think you were going to be interested in. That's happened as well. This big resurgence in CW. I had said hard no to CW for years. I didn't even think there was a chance. Yep. But magically there's a key on my desk here, and every now and then you get a few letters out of me so far. So you never know where it's going to take you.
James has always been quoted as saying there's so many ways to ham, right?
No wrong way to ham.
No wrong way to ham, just like the Reese's comment that we always make here on the Everyday Ham. I think like version 1 of the podcast, we've said that. So I love it. It's kind of bringing it full circle here as we go into 2026. It's a brand new year. You're going to be just absolutely hit over the head with brand new gear as we head into Orlando Hamcation, into Dayton Hamvention. Yeah. This is like after Christmas and into the spring and then summer season is when you just get bludgeoned with all the like Hamcation sale, Hamvention sale. You got to have the newest and latest thing. So keep that in mind, right? Consider where you're at today. Make some mindful purchases. Splurge on something too. Get something cool that you weren't sure if you're in. Yeah, treat yourself. And then see how it works and take it into the summer. I will tell you, I bought a whole bunch of fun gear at Hamvention last year. I think I spent my full budget, which was $750 that I took out in the flea market and at some of the vendor booths. And of all the gear that I bought, I've held on to one of those items. So I have gone through and I said, nope, that's not a fit. That's not a fit. That's not a fit. All that stuff's moved on, but I got to experience each of those things. You use the Linko handheld. You guys know, if you've been listening for a long time, a handheld enthusiast. Got to play with the Buddy Pole POTA antenna, right? Got to play with the ATOS 25, which is their non-motorized antenna. That was a cool experiment. In fact, I took that out and I tried to make it work. If you've watched Mean Girls, I tried to make fetch work. It didn't work. It was never happening. But ATOS, dating myself here, but like the ATOS 25 is a neat idea. I thought it was a really clever antenna because it's super lightweight, but get it out in the field, and I realized that you could take something that weighed just as much, and you could do 4 times better with that antenna, right? Reception wise, distance wise, getting out. So it was a great way to go and experiment. And I don't think I'm going to go that crazy this year at Hamvention. My second Hamvention might be a little more of a mature Hamvention as far as purchasing is concerned. But I also have a hot take, which is Rory's Buddy Hex that he aspires to acquire this year the next regrettable purchase, or is Buddy Hex going to be the win?
So regrettable for who? You or me?
Not for me, because I'm not buying it.
I'd like you to buy the Buddy Hex so I can use the Buddy Hex.
Is this one on me? Well, okay, so here's the thing with Buddy Hex. We
love Buddy Pole, by the way, and Buddy Hex is an excellent antenna. This is all about the experience of using Buddy Hex and whether or not it can be deployed. Go ahead.
I have to do it for myself. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Just with any of these things we talk about, you have to test it. You have to do it for yourself.
Absolutely.
So I've spent a lot of time on Buddy Hex of is that the next thing I need in the kit? And I look at my use case scenario of how I would use it, and there's a few things that point to that. I've become very interested in QSO parties and running QSO parties from a POTA park. So some directionality on bands that you can use in the daytime to get some distance out of is very important. The Buddy Hex or Hex Beam in general, but the Buddy Hex for sure fits that, checks that box. Something portable that checks that box. The one thing that keeps coming up though is I hear some people tell me it's a pain in the ass to set up. Other people tell me it's not that bad once you get used to it. I talked to the guys at Buddy Pole at their booth last year at HamVention at length about the Buddy Hex, about the setup, and he told me, of course, you think it's a sales pitch. Of course, it's coming from the guys that make the thing, but he's telling me, he asked me the first question: are you doing it by yourself, or are you going to have help? And I said, I tend to go by myself places. He said it's going to take you an hour the first time. Mm-hmm. He was very transparent about that. He said you'll probably cuss at it the first time. He was very transparent about that. But he said once you get it down, you'll be at a half hour for setup. I noticed one of our POTA friends, Cody K3KLB out of Pennsylvania there, that's become his very commonly used antenna. He just did exceptionally well in Winter Field Day with running the Buddy Hex.
Yes.
Out doing POTA and Winter
really
Field
cool
Day.
Picture, by the way.
Absolutely.
Really cool picture. Go check it out.
And so I reached out to him. I sent him a message. I said, tell me the truth. I mean, wow, how hard is it? And he said, honestly, you could do it in 20 minutes if you had to, and you had your practice. So, based on performance and what I want to do with it, ultimately it's something that I could set up at a campground for a weekend when there's a camper in place. So that checks another box. So yes, it's likely there's a Buddy Hex in my future. We'll see how much
If anybody's watched our Buddy Pole deluxe setup video, there was some cussing in that video, which we didn't record.
If cussing at an antenna is a automatic disqualifier, why not to get it? Then I'm in really the wrong hobby here.
So in full transparency, my Buddy Pole has been sold. It was sold to a viewer of the channel. Actually came and got it from me at our cold winter Support Your Parks a couple weekends ago. But again, he knew what he was getting, and he knew what we went through to get it up. But it's another one of those things. When you do set it up, it is an exceptional antenna. Yep. It just took a little bit more than I had for getting it up for what I was using it for. I think the Buddy Hex, when I set that up, when I have it, not if I have it, when I have it, I know I'm going to be setting it up for a long multi-hour operation, and that's probably worth the time. So we'll see. The use case changes, your interest changes. And if you don't like it, I'm learning more and more from Jim every day.
What's is there a wait time? Because I know in the Buddy Hex for a period of time, there was a waiting period.
Yeah, I think they're saying on their website right now, it's a 2-week waiting period. You let them know know you're interested, and then they'll get back with you. I think the way it's written, I would assume they're just manufacturing more to need. Yep. And I'm sure that's a cash flow deal for them if you look at it from a business standpoint. If I remember it correctly, and don't quote me on this, at HamVention last year, they did only have a limited amount with
they did. Mm-hmm. No, they did, and that's what they were basically taking orders there to ship a few weeks after. But it's
not a long wait. There, Buddy Pole, the Buddy Pole company is 100% customer satisfaction oriented. I mean, and I say that just from having talked to the guys at the booth and dealing with them. And my Buddy Stick, the vertical, is still among my favorite antennas. I deployed it a few weeks ago during POTA. So nothing against them. I didn't sell my Buddy Pole because I disliked it. It just wasn't for my use. So
what mast would you get with your Buddy Hex if we're now going to go the shopping road here?
I don't know the answer to that. So the answer is I think I would need more than one. I think I would need different ones for different applications.
Sure.
I think I would need something different for the weekend setup in a campground.
Uh-huh.
I think I would need a different one for when I go set up out the backside of my Jeep at Island Lake here to have,
Right.
you know, I think there's different things in play there.
Yeah, you're not standing a 20-footer up behind your Jeep when you're there for a couple hours in Island Lake. But when you're there all weekend, if we
it's
can
worth it then.
add the weight and throw it in the trailer, 20
Right.
feet might be more reasonable.
Right. So there's some research that still needs to be done, but you know, that's the way I'm looking at it now.
And they had a rotate. Did they sell a rotator for the? Now I'm just on the advertisement. I'm looking at the Buddy Hex website.
So
by the way, here.
there are rotators out there. Are they sold by them? I don't know. If you're on their site there, you can take a look. I have actually this afternoon. I went down needed to give the brain an accounting break at work. I had crunched a few too many numbers for probably 5 hours straight, and the numbers were not coming out the same as they were going in. So it was time to take a break. And I actually did look at a video of, and that would be another thing. There would be an instance where I might want to have a rotator on the Buddy Hex when I'm at the campground, but it's not something that would make sense when I'm set up for a long afternoon at the park.
I think everybody includes 2 rotators along with their ownership of the Buddy Hex, which is your 2 hands. I've seen most folks twisting the Buddy Hex with their hands. I see what you're saying. I think in a permanent installation, perhaps a motorized rotator makes sense, but seems like for a weekend or a POTA setup.
So tell me this. So you're set up in your big old monster RV that you and Becca have there. You're set up out there. Let
him get on his preachy horse here. Tell us that we got thumbs.
Where are we going? We're gonna
get out there and
what park
rotate
are we
it.
going to?
It's a new version of the podcast here.
Let's
fiery
go.
than ever.
I'm trying to think, which campground do we want to go to? Let's go to Sleepy Hollow just because it comes to mind.
Yep.
You've got your beer. You're back on the beer at that point. You've got the radio going. You're making the contacts. You got
a poodle sitting on your
got
foot.
a poodle sitting there. You've got both poodles sitting there.
I gotta tell you.
You got but you have your Buddy Hex out back that's just a little bit off, and you're trying to get that park to Australia. You're trying to get that park to China, and you're just a little bit off. You're going to use your 2 hands then? No, you're going to want a rotator
job. That's a rotator job.
You can use your 2 hands all you want, but I'll tell you, if I'm set up for a weekend and I've got a rotator, I'm pushing the button.
You're rotating. You know what? It's ironic that we started this podcast this evening on a very
don't buy things note.
reasonable note, and now we've completely devolved into go ahead and buy out Buddy Hex, which is only $1,000 worth of antenna for whatever you're doing.
Let that be a lesson to you other hams.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, we'll hop you off the peer pressure wagon, to put you right back on the peer pressure wagon.
Peer pressure, but in all seriousness, look at how we got there. We were all talking about evaluating our use case scenarios, evaluating what works for us, evaluating how we each radio. If I wasn't a relatively big POTA person interested in, something that's directional for those contests that I tend to run from a park these days, that wouldn't be on the list.
Yep.
So, it's again, take a look at what you need, how you're going to use it. Is it what you need? Is it going to be used how you need it to be used? And make a smart purchase. Don't necessarily just start buying things because, Jim down the street at the other end of South Lyon bought an amp. I sure don't have an amp here because I don't think my neighbors need me putting that kind of power into the attic. So, make your
the TV will be projected upside down and backwards by the time you turn it up to 100.
I am aware of one instance where I did set off a smoke detector in the building. So it's never happened again.
Allegedly.
No, there's no allegedly, and I have spoken to her since then. We've taken care of that, so it's no problem. But because I did feel bad, it was late at night. I actually did feel bad, and she has a good neighbor. So I'm like, hey, you had a little problem there. I don't know why it was going on. I'm like, I know why it was going off. So we talked through it, and everything's fine there. But yeah,
I admittedly did seat us on the Buddy Hex because I did think it was a funny conversation, right? You tried one thing, it didn't work. You have a thing that you've set your sights on that you think might work better. And we'll find out, time will tell when you get it and deploy it a few times, whether or not you have the patience and you think it does give you that return on your investment and your time to make it worth owning the Buddy Hex for a long period of time. I'll be really curious. And I was going to also say, if you're looking at pragmatic look at how to set that Buddy Hex up and what what it actually takes. Ham Radio 2.0 did a video. It says building the Buddy Hex in 2023. And go check it out. Jason actually has a pretty good video of him setting it up, going through the whole thing, and you can see how big it is for one, how much is involved in doing it. And I've watched that video a couple of times now in just sort of research mode. So shout out to Jason. He does a nice job with most of his stuff, and I thought that was a really useful video if you're looking for Buddy Hex.
Yeah, that's actually one I just thumbed through this afternoon real quickly when I was thinking about Buddy Hex, actually. So yeah, it's you know, we're all making fun of each other here. So, but I do want to have a Buddy Hex in place by California QSO Party in October. So that's got to go for that number one POTA out of state slot again. Got to get it 2 years in a row.
I like it. This year it might be another California QSO Party hat for Rory.
It might be.
Or maybe it'll be a coffee mug. I don't remember what they're actually giving away. James, are there any ridiculous things on your list that we should be aware of?
I would prefer a coffee mug, just to put that plug out to the California QSO Party people.
Is there anything? No, but now I'm on the Mastworks website.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're going out.
To
you're
go
all
with
over
Rory's Buddy Hex. Only the finest. And it does have a rotational hand crank arm for spinning that bad boy around. And I'm sure there is probably somewhere a kit you can get to make that an electronic rotator arm. So,
James, you and I have 3D printers, and you have enough wherewithal that I'm sure we could develop something there if Rory needs help, and he doesn't want to use his meat mitts to twist it around. So
I'm using a rotator.
Yeah, he's the one that wanted the rotator.
We've made that clear. I have no poodle, but I'm not getting up.
Once you're tucked in the camper for the evening, sitting in your boxers, operating California or China, there's no stepping out to be twisting that rotor around.
No, I'm not gonna lie. My big purchases right now are I'm buying some new backpacking gear for this trip here in April.
Very cool.
And then I'm trying to. I usually will go to a Ham Fest, and I'll buy some cheap ends and odds and ends, I guess is what I was trying to say there. And adapters cost a fortune these days, so I need to save
$5+ a piece. $5 a piece is like the going rate at most Hamfests now for a single gender changing adapter of your choice. So yeah, I whenever I see one of the less organized tables with a big bag of adapters, I always question, how much you asking for those adapters, and it's $1 a piece. I think there's video footage of me digging through.
There's lots of video. Jim will spend hours just digging through bags of adapters,
finding the Amphenol adapters in those, the treasures, the diamonds in the rough.
You do make out. In those
you got to look for the Amphenol ones, man. They're the high quality ones. All right, guys, I think we're at the bottom of episode 14 here.
We are.
I don't know if there's anything more to say, but to encourage folks to go out and be more reasonable than the everyday ham is. We encourage all of your behavior, though. Go experiment. Let us know what you're getting.
Yeah. Ham radio for yourself. Do what works for you. Do what works for your budget. Takeaway. And always do research. I will mention Hamcation, Orlando Hamcation is coming up. If you're down there at Hamcation, we will be there. And we look forward to meeting some of our listeners and friends that are going to be there. So if you see us, we're definitely friendly. We're not going to talk you into buying anything. Certainly say... I won't talk you into buying anything.
James and James might be there.
The two of them can handle that. I'll just be standing awkwardly and quiet as I do, and definitely stop by and say hello, get a sticker from us, and we'll be happy to meet you for sure. So looking forward to that experience. Looking forward to warming up from this 20 degrees and just looking forward to spending some good
sunshine
around some other hams.
That's all we want is a little warm weather, some umbrella drinks apparently, and ham radio. So I think we can maybe get all three of those.
I can guarantee at least one thing: I won't be wearing a vest. So I know you probably won't recognize me, but I am excied to meet anybody that is down there.
What if it's chilly? What if it's chilly in the morning?
Yeah, possibly. Get some good coffee in me though, and get me going. We'll be good. I'm really looking forward to the warm weather. Hopefully, a couple of good flea market buys down there at the Hamcation. If you've gone to Hamcation in the past, let us know how the flea market is because I'm looking forward to it. I have this much, and that's a very tiny box that I'm drawing in the space in front of my face. If you're listening on the audio podcast, that much space to pack anything that I buy from this, because we're flying Spirit Airlines, which we've said before, very high-end air. And I am not
only the finest.
I'm not checking a bag, so it's going to be very limited. If I end up at any killer deals, they may either be coming back with Steve NAR, who has a van down there. Steve, I haven't checked in with you yet, but I'm hoping you'll be willing to bring my stuff back.
We need to give Steve a call.
Or I'll be sending myself a package from UPS ground. So there are two ways to get it back. But yes, I think Hamcation is going to be awesome. Looking forward to get away from this cold weather, getting away from the snow for a few minutes. I have not traveled down to a warm weather location in the winter in years, so it should be a lot of fun to go down and do something cool with you guys, play some ham radio, go touch some of the fancy new things, the Flex Aurora I want to touch, the 7760 that ICOM let out, finally go play with that. I really haven't put my meat mitts on it, and go check out some of those other kind of cool radios. I'm hoping that the 5200 preview unit is also down there, the ICOM 5200, so we can look at that. So we'll have a list of folks, and we'll try to capture some fun conversations. Video will be posting as we are down there, and then we'll do a little recap when we get back. So look forward to all of those new Orlando-related videos coming. And I don't know if we're going to try to live stream, because we've learned from other YouTubers that the coverage at these places is pretty limited. I don't know
if we're good enough for live streaming. I'm not sure we're live streaming caliber here, folks.
If you've been watching tonight, all those jump cuts were us cutting. No, I'm just kidding. There haven't been any jump cuts.
But we'll see. Let's play that by ear here.
Yeah.
So
all right,
with that, don't forget everydayham.com. Check out the channel.
Check us out on the Discord, as always. We do have an Instagram, a couple new followers today, as we posted jokes about wanting to get away from the snow. Lots of different ways to get in touch with us. Do feel free to jump into the Discord, and do feel free to start a conversation about anything. You don't have to just talk about the podcast. You don't have to just talk about everyday hams. Let's talk. Good
group of hams out there. So check it out.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right, with that, 73s.
7-3.
That's it for today's Everyday Ham. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep enjoying the hobby.